Good morning. How's everybody doing? Cool. So Chelsea and Tori asked me to do this, and I guess good morning. And we talked about some topics, and we come to all this stuff. There's always topics that sometimes we take nuggets, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I see a topic and I'm like, I don't want to do that. We all are top performers here. I was trying to figure out something that we could all talk about where maybe somebody would take some nuggets away, like I said. There's so many things out there that we do every day, and I don't know, I feel like this group needs more than that. And so a lot of in my business lately, I've felt that I'm gonna try and talk loud and not yell at you guys, by the way. I realize it's loud out here, so I'm feeling like I'm yelling at you. I'm trying not to. But one of the things that I've noticed over my career in the last probably 15 years in now, is that my ego has ruined some deals. Like, I've called myself out, I've caught myself doing it. And so I was like, you know what? I've been talking to a lot of agents lately about that. And I was like, okay, this is a perfect time, right? So I didn't want to do any of those, like, how do we lead gen? How do we door knock? What are all these different things that we can, try to pass on to the group? We all know what's going on with that. But I think something that needs to be talked about amongst us more is ego. So of course I was throwing this all together really quickly. I didn't want to put together like a script to read off of. I did though, because I'm not a public speaker. I wanted to make sure I kind of stayed on track, but I took my thoughts of what I was talking about with ego in business, and I called this Ego is Expensive in Business. So I put all my thoughts in chat, and I kind of read through it. Chat came up with some good stuff. I kind of incorporated my thoughts about ego in business. And they asked me to give, 10 to 15 minute TED Talk. We're going to call it a ToddTalk today. And I want this to kind of, if it resonates, cool. I want this to be more like, let's talk about it when I'm done. So I'm kind of going to talk about it. And then I'd like to open it up for discussion. If there's something that you liked, that you heard, didn't like, if I'm wrong, tell me. This is just like 100% me. And I could be done, and you could say that made 0 sense, and I would be totally fine with that. But this is, I didn't want to come up here and read off a script, but I also wanted to stay on track. And I know my brain, and it goes many different directions because that's just how we all are sometimes, right? So ego in business, why letting go get you more deals? Have you ever been in a deal where you knew you were right? You still lost. You were 100% right. You were going to argue this in court, and you were going to go down with the ship. If you've never experienced that, this talk is not for you. I often thought that deals died because of price, timing, or the market. But in my 15 years of selling homes, a lot of the deals died because of me. My ego was running the show, and my bank account was paying the bill. Ego in real estate is sneaky. It doesn't show up and say, hey, I'm your ego. It shows up with, we're not giving you that concession. Or, geez, I'm dealing with a new agent. Or, my client has to win. For me, that's always the one. For me, is like, my client has to win. That's the big one for me. Meanwhile, we're arguing over drapes and curtain rods like it's our legacy, right? Every time you need to be right, you're risking losing the deal. And that one really hit me when I read that, actually, to myself. So I'm going to say it again. Every time you need to be right, you risk losing the deal. I think that's very huge. Story time. So this happens all the time, right? You're $10,000 to $20,000 apart on a deal. Sometimes that's pennies. Most of the time that's pennies in the grand scheme. You stood firm like you were defending the Alamo, and the money isn't even yours, right? Deals later, the deal's dead. And your clients remember that the deal died, but we remember that it didn't close. That's ego. Another form of ego is the illusion of success. We all know this one, right? You probably know where this is going. Today, it's never been easier to look successful on social media. You've got the perfect Instagram photos, the cinematic listing videos, trying to go viral like Austin and Wade. Trying to keep up with those two is a whole other topic. Big announcements, award, all the flashy things. And I'm not knocking that because I'm guilty of it. We all do it. It's part of the game. I get it. But the truth that nobody really wants to talk about is there's a massive difference between looking successful and being dangerous in the field. In this business, the market doesn't care how good your Instagram looks. It cares how good you are when things get hard. And I think that's absolutely perfect for where we are right now in this market. Because social media can create a version of you that hasn't actually been tested yet. Have you ever met an agent that looks like they sell 100 million a year and then you realize all they've done is 2 photo shoots and 2 deals? We all know who those people are. They've got the branding, the confidence, the big brokerage, but when it's actually time to do a deal with them and navigate through troubled waters, how to handle an appraisal, how to handle a deal when it's falling apart, you realize what their competency level is and you wonder how they made it that far. To me, that's where ego creeps in. It's when people start telling you how great you are before you really earned it, and you start believing your own highlight reel, and that's dangerous to me. So here's the takeaway and what I personally have started working on with every conversation, every deal, and every opportunity. It's really simple, just detach to win. I think that's a good something to stick in my brain, is detach to win, not from caring, but from needing to be right. Shift from I need to win this deal to how do we get this deal done? And I see that all the time. It's like, it's being more collaborative, right? Less ego. A thought that really sunk into me after digging deep into this and opening my eyes was that the best agents don't win arguments, they close deals. I think that's very true. How many deals out there have you, how many deals and how much money has your ego lost you? The agents who win long-term aren't the ones who need to be right, they're the ones who are willing to be more effective. The moment you stop needing to win is the moment you start to close everything. Thought that was a good one too. We've all been there. The difference is some of us learn from it and some of us repeat it. I chose this topic today not just to hold myself accountable. Lord knows I'm very guilty of all this. But hopefully just to put this out to the universe and really get us agents to look at the topic, lose the ego, work more collaboratively than competitively. This is where it becomes more Q&A for all of us. Just simple question, where is your ego showing up in your business right now? For me, I think I jotted down a couple different things, but I think for me, ego right now probably is in pricing, because I feel like I want to get the most price and my ego leads with that, but then in reality I'm sometimes not looking at comps right, maybe, or I set the expectation for the seller differently, and so I chose pricing, but it's definitely negotiations as well. I think until about 2 or 3 years ago I started realizing that I did always want to win, and it was losing deals and I had to catch it, and so I caught it. And this is ironic again that we're sitting here having this conversation, because I thought it was a great topic. And now every time I answer the phone it's different, every time I engage with a new agent it's different, every time I get someone who is coming at me with ego, I know how to shut it down now. And it took me a long time to get there. So again, if this didn't resonate with you, I apologize for wasting your 7 minutes, but I'd love to hear if anybody has anything to share about ego. Another question I also jotted down was, who here has ever argued over something so small in a deal, like it was a personal mission to win? That's just a very general. Anyway, I'm Todd, and that was my Todd Talk. So, thank you.
And scene.